Rachel, do you have your, you got the listing?
Oh my goodness, withdrawal conditional.
Why?
She told me that her husband and daughter got COVID.
Oh.
And that, like,
Was it on the market yet?
it was coming soon, and I had a picture of the front of their house, and she postponed the photos twice. So at that point, when she postponed the second time and said that they got COVID, I just said, like, I understand, like, you know, you don't know how long those things are gonna, like, you just can't call how long COVID's gonna last.
Mhm.
So I just told her basically that I put it under withdrawal conditional and that we could pick up, like, when they're ready.
So with your conditions, what were your conditions?
I don't know. Sam just said to put it under withdrawal conditional.
Okay, because I usually like, well, I'll put some condition like,
Oh shoot, I have not done the change order form.
yeah. So you
I
need.
had no idea how to do that.
Yeah, so you're gonna want to, because they have to sign off that it's withdrawn, that they're not expecting it to go on and all that kind of stuff. So you have to draw it, and then write, you know, what the conditions are. And my conditions are they can't list with somebody else, and you know, in this time frame, or you know. So ask Sam how she wants you to write that up, because I'm like, I have the listing, I've already done the work, I've already, you know. Have you gone and take measurements and all that, or have you done any of it yet?
No, we did the listing presentation at their house, so I've seen it, and she walked us through their whole house.
But you didn't put it in the MLS. Well, you did, because you did
did.
coming soon.
But we don't.
So that's time.
Well, yeah, I took the measurements from their previous MLS.
Never, ever, 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 ever do anything from the previous.
Oh, okay.
So you're gonna want, if she wants to go on the market, because here's the thing: there's a lot of agents that are like, yeah, this looks like a 9x9 room, and now your name is on it because you just replicated that. You have to call the HOA. You need to do everything as if they weren't listed before, because you'll call the HOA. They'll just say that last one might have just said, oh yeah, the last people put, you know, it's only $80 and it's not. It's $120. That's big difference in payments, you know. So you want to make sure that the information you're giving is as correct as it can be, because it is your name. So you're going to walk through. You're going to get, because I have, you know, doing the listing one, I have an electronic like laser, and I just walk in, and as I'm talking to them, I just hit it on the wall, bing, 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 and I'm like, oh yeah, da, 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 like they don't even know what I'm doing, and then I hit this way, but that way I don't have to walk, you know, and I'm tape measure, hold this side, that side. But you're going to want, they might have put it was granite when it's actually quartz, you know, like you don't know. So all of it needs to be verified by you. So there's a form in the transaction desk called the residential data checklist. You're going to get that's 5 pages, and you're going to walk around the house and write down, okay, is it a gas or electric in the laundry room? Is it like, it asks you all those questions. It'll say bedroom number 1, the measurements, and then it'll ask you, is there a closet? Is it mirrored closet? Is there a ceiling fan? Is it cable wired? Like, in each room, you're gonna mark that. So then when you go home to put it in the MLS, you have everything on that sheet. Okay. So you don't wanna do that. Just never, ever, ever take it off there. And you can never, ever, ever use somebody else's pictures either. So I mean, I know you took one of the front, but you need to get used to just doing it all yourself. Don't ever rely on another realtor to do it, because half the time, 99% of the time, it's wrong. And now your name's on it. So, perfect. Well, I guess you just ask her how she wants you to withdraw it. I would put some kind of restriction in there. Otherwise, it's withdrawn and they can just relist it with anybody else. There has to be a little bit of she worked you up, you took the time, you put it in there, you know, like, and so far haven't gotten compensated. So if they're like eager to sell their home, you want them to still use you. So that's what I would do. But anyways, okay. So everybody's got their papers, whatever. So I'm going to start as if, because that way Vianney can cancel all this out. But all right, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about inspections, appraisals, and repair requests. Once you've negotiated back and forth, you've opened escrow. You're going to make sure all the executed, everyone has the executed documents. So the listing agent, the buyer's agent, which would be yourself, Tim, me, Maria, the lender, title. You're going to send a mass email out to everybody. But we talked about this in the last class. You're not going to want to put your client's personal information. The first and last name of both parties, you know, husband, wife, whoever it is. If it's one person, two people, Don't put any trusts or LLCs. Don't put phone numbers, emails, nothing. You're just going to say, congratulations, everyone. We're opening escrow, or please open escrow. Here's the title's information. Here's the lender's information. That's personal, open information for everybody to have, because both sides will need to talk to those parties. But you never want to give your client's information, phone number and email, to the other side. Right? So leave all that out. And then once I send that, then I send a separate email to title, and like, okay, thank you for opening escrow. Here's my client's personal information, name, phone number, email. There's a trust. Here are the trust documents. Here are the LLC documents. All of that goes separately to title by itself, right? So once you send that, then you got to work on getting that home inspection, right? So you're going to ask the buyer. I always ask the buyer, do you have a preferred home inspector? We have preferred ones, but we want to give them the option, right? If they don't do this a lot, they're not going to have their own. So I usually give them one or two of them, 2 or 3 of them, or whatever it is. I have multiple inspectors that I've worked with over the years. We do have home inspection stuff outside of the door. So I always say they're a very large company. They're all over town. I've been using another guy, Steve from Win, for like the last 12 years. So they've been around for quite a while, right? I use them all on my own personal homes, but I don't tell them that. I just say, hey, here's a couple of home inspectors. Research them, let me know which one you like to use, and then I'll go ahead and set that up for you. If it's a vacant home, I would just text or email the agent and just say, hey, is there a certain time I can do the inspections? Do you care? I know it's vacant. Most of the time it's vacant, you can do whatever. But if there's an owner in there, I call the home inspector. Can I get a couple of days and times that you're available? And then I'll get with the other agent. That other agent has to get with the seller, see when it's available. But because that home inspection is going to take 3 to 4 hours. It's not like they're just walking in there. They're coming in there to check everything, right? So what you're going to want to do is get that information if there's a homeowner, and then you'll call them. They'll set it up. And then what's going to happen is you're going to give that home inspector your clients, the buyers, name, phone number, email. Okay. They're also going to ask you the square footage of the house, if it's 1 story, 2 story, the address, if there's a pool, like anything specific. Now, you are going to get an SRPD, Seller Real Property Disclosure Form. The seller, I think, has 5 days to give it to you. I try to get it within 24 hours so I can review it, and if there's anything on it, I give it to my home inspector. Hey, this is the SRPD. Can you just double check these areas, right? If there's like a water area or plumbing issue, and we know something was fixed, I might tell my clients, we might want to pay for the water moisture meter. It's an extra, I don't know how much, each inspector is different, could be upwards of $100, but I'd rather know there's moisture and mold growing throughout my attic or behind the walls rather than wait till I buy the home. And then now I've got to tear apart this whole room. I want to avoid that. So I tell them we're going to get as many inspections up front. Sometimes the other agent won't, they're not speedy in getting you that SRPD. But I would just say, hey, I prefer to have the SRPD before we schedule our home inspection. Anyway, I can get that today. Generally, when you're taking a listing, you're front loading that listing. This is what you should do. So that listing agent should have all this paperwork. If you don't get it done, and now we've unexpectedly gone into escrow the next day, now the listing agent is chasing that seller for that SRPD. And I don't so that's why when I'm teaching my class, you're going to front load all that information. So when there's buyer's agents like me that says I want it now, I'm going to withhold, I'm going to ask for an extension in my due diligence because I don't want to do this until I get that. You have every right to get that information, right? So just please get it to me so I can get that. I can give it to my inspector. So you're going to get that. You're going to set up your home inspection. That home inspector is going to give you a link. And then he's not going to give it to you. You're going to give him, the home inspector, all of your buyer's information, and he's going to contact that buyer. He's going to give them a contract they have to sign, and then a link to pay. So your buyers, right at the gate, will have to pay for home inspection and appraisal if they're not waiving it. Well, if they're paying cash, they can waive it. But it's going to be upwards of $1,000 to $1,200. And they don't get that money back if they back out, right? That's just a no. That it is what it is. Cost of trying to find a home. So we hope that it goes through. But I'd rather lose $1,000 than buy a house that I have to repair and put $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 into later on, right? So I personally do not represent a buyer unless they get a home inspection. and I say, you know what, we get to that point and they're like, you know what, I'm going to be good. I'm going to say, well, I don't represent buyers that don't get home inspections. It's that important. So if they keep saying no, 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 I have purchased home inspections for people. Because again, guys, you can get sued. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just trying to show you the importance of the home inspection. Because last week we had 2 agents that are like, oh, we're just going to waive it. Do not waive that home inspection. Because what happens is they waive it and then they get in there and there's something very costly. Who do they turn to? They turn to you guys. Why didn't you do this? And then if they start a lawsuit, the judge is going to say, why did you not tell them how important it was to have it's always going to be your fault. You have to stress to them how important that it is to get that home inspection, right? So they're going to send them a link. They're going to pay for it. Now that the home inspector has all their information. The home inspector will come out. I like to have my home inspector out there within 24 to 48 hours because he's going to do that report and it's going to take 24 hours for me to get that report from him. So if it took 48 hours to get there and then another 24 hours, I'm 3 days in already, right, of my 10-day due diligence possibly. So in that 10-day due diligence, that's when you do all your inspections. And that means you do your inspection, you get your report, you get other estimates, you send it to the other side, and they have to respond back to you all within that 10 days, and you have to get it accepted, rejected, or canceled. Otherwise, you're risking your clients losing that money. So when we're writing, I don't know if the team does this, but in the additional terms, we put due diligence period to be extended by the same amount of days it takes for the seller to respond back to our repair request in writing. So what happens is if we send them our repair request on day 7 and they take another 5 days, I still have 3 more days for my 10 days and an additional 5 days to get back, because back in the day, what used to happen is we have a 10-day due diligence period. I give them my repair request at day 5 and they just sit on it, because at day 11, well, day 10 technically, at midnight on day 10, if I don't cancel, it's saying I'm going to move forward with the house as is, except that there's no repairs done there. So that's what the sellers were doing, where they were holding on to it, not responding. And so you either have to cancel it and find another house, or you just have to accept the house as is. Or because you can ask for an extension, but if they want to be nasty like that, they're not giving you an extension. So you have to understand, that's why it's super important to stay on top of your timelines. That's why we ask you for the timeline sheet, when the offer was written, when it was accepted, your due diligence period, the appraisal contingency, loan contingency, all of that, because we have to get used to staying on top of those timelines, because it's their earnest money that's up, that its potential could lose. So let's see. Tell the buyers at the end. Okay, so I usually tell the buyers that it's optional if they attend the home inspection, but if they decide they want to go at the end. They're hiring that home inspector to do his job. And if they walk around, they're like, what's this? He's going to get distracted and he's not going to find. I'm hiring him to find everything out about this house, good or bad, okay? And he's going to tell me, oh, there's a lazy Susan back here that we didn't even know about. Or, hey, this sprinkler system over here. Like, he's going to tell me whatever, but he's looking, guys, at everything. Holes in the wall, baseboards that are separating, fans and lights that don't work. He's looking at everything, how the door opens and closes. If the garage door has an automatic, like the correct, what do you call it, things to make it shut automatically because it's a safety feature. Like, he's looking at everything in the home. So if you have buyers following him around, he's potentially going to miss something. So we don't want to do that. So I always call the home inspector and say, my clients would like to show up. When would be a good time for them to show up? And they'll tell you, you know what, I only need about 2.5 hours. I'm starting at 12. Tell them they can come at 2:15. And then he's going to be done, and then he'll walk them through and say, well, I saw this, and I saw this, and I saw that. He's not going to tell them everything, but he's going to tell them the main things, and then they all leave. But here's the thing, is at least my guy at Win will go do my home inspection even if the buyers haven't paid, but they will not release that report, okay? So, but some buyers will sit there and go, yeah, I paid. We're not getting a report. Okay, so after he's done the inspection, 24 hours later, they usually send you as the agent the report and the buyer the report. And this is what I do. Did I go into that? Before we go into that, if the buyer decides to show up, and the house is not vacant and the sellers have decided to stay, you need to go. You never, ever, ever want buyers and sellers in the house without you there. I don't care if the listing agent goes, but I'm going to be there with my buyers, because what's going to happen is buyers and sellers are going to get together and they're going to start yapping. And I had this happen once to me because the sellers said they were leaving. And then my buyers showed up at the very end and they sat there and said, get rid of your realtor, da, 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 da. They were trying everything. They didn't realize I've already sold 4 homes to my clients, and they told me everything. And I went to that agent and she's like, whatever, you shouldn't have been there. I mean, you should have been there. And I said, you specifically said your clients weren't showing up. Now, if it's a vacant home, I let them go. But if there's a seller there and there's stuff in the house, I try to attend that. I was out of town at the time, and they knew that, and they said they weren't going. And then at the last minute, they're like, "No, we're going to show up there." So I'm like, and I call the agent. Is the seller going to be there? They're just going to go there to pay, So you're trying everything, but you really don't want your clients unrepresented in somebody else's house where their belongings are. If there's somebody's belongings, they need you as the buffer, because then they're going to at any point say, "Oh, the buyer stole this, and they were walking around here," and I don't want that. I was there. I know it didn't happen. I always stayed with my clients. So at least you're kind of like the buffer, right? So think about that. If the home inspector will do the home inspection and email you the report, usually within 24 hours. And then when he emails me the report and emails them the report, this is what I do. Hi guys, I'm just letting you know, it looks like the home inspector emailed us both the report. I'll give you a call later on this evening, but right now what I want you to do is go ahead and go through that report and make a list of your top 5 or 6 items that are a must-have, must-repair, or I'm not buying the home, right? Now, again, you're going to see some regular wear and tear on the home maintenance stuff. That's not my concern. You want the high-ticket stuff. Your roof, your plumbing, your water heater, plumbing issues, electrical issues, anything that's going to cost thousands of dollars. Those are the items I really want to get fixed. Because sometimes the home inspection report could be 2 pages long. It could be 25, 30 items on there. And we're just looking at the summary. The report itself is like 45, 50 pages. But the summary report's going to list items, like the main concerns, right? And they can go, okay, we just want everything fixed. That's not how it works. You're buying a resale home. Even on new homes, guys, they're not perfect. I get home inspections on my new builds as well. And sometimes it's just the AC stuff in the attic wasn't connected. So now we turn on the air and it's just cooling the attic. Like it happens because they got so many people's hands on everything that things get overlooked. So almost every house really needs a home inspection, right? So I tell them, just make a list of your top 5 or 6 items, and then when I call you back later, we'll go over it. I'm on the other end making my own list, but I'm not giving them that list, guys. Because here's the thing, what's important to them, or what's important to me, might not be important to them. I might say, guys, you know what? What's your list of things, and they're telling me I want this fixed, I want this fixed, da, 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 da. Great. Did you notice that the plumbing throughout the house under every bathroom sink was having a lot of issues, incrustation? Is that a concern to you? No, my brother's a plumber. He'll do everything for free. Okay, concern to me, not a concern to them. They'd rather ask for something else. That's why I don't tell them what they should and shouldn't fix. Now, if I know that there isn't a family member or somebody that they can call and I see something major, I'm going to say, hey guys, I've had experience in this before, and I know that it says that the water heater is just missing the pan. Pan's $25, no problem. But to get it installed, they have to unhook it, unstrap it, move it, come back in, put the pan there, put it all back there, you're looking at $300 to $500. Okay, so even though I know you said the pan was in there, not a big deal, I'm just letting you know that that's going to be expense for you later on. And they're like, oh no, I do want to add that to my list. But that's an expense that I knew about, because I've had previous, I don't tell them it needs to be done. I'm just letting them know that this could be a costly thing afterwards. Like roof. So let's go back to we've had our initial home inspection. I'm sitting there having a conversation with my clients and they're like, well, how much could this roof issue cost? You know what? I don't know. You always want to stay in your lane. Unless you were a roofer or you are currently a roofer, not a roofer 15 years ago and you're using 15-year-ago pricing. You need to know what it's going to cost right now. That's a great question. Let's call a roofer and try to get them out here to give us an additional estimate. That's why you want to get your home inspection done in the first couple of days, because you might need further inspections. And it takes them a couple of days to get out there. When I know that, I'll start calling. They're like, we can't get out till Friday. Well, my due diligence ends on Friday. So you know what? Book me that appointment. And then I call the listing agent. Hey, we found a huge issue, and I can email it to you on the home inspection report with a roof. I can't get a roofer out there until Friday. Can we extend the due diligence until Monday? So then you have to write up an addendum to extend, but everybody agrees. And if they say no, you got to tell them, hey, if you guys can come out at 10 a.m., we need to give them. But now you have to get the roofer out there, get the estimate, write up the repair request, send it to the other side, and then hope they respond to you all on the same day. That's a lot to ask, because it's not just a listing agent. The listing agent has to present it to the, they might have to do their own inspection, because sometimes you want them to repair it, and other times you're like, no, I just want a credit for that. Because they might have a brother that's a roofer, or they might have just needed to lay tiles, and they've done that before. So they're like, just give me a $600 credit, and then I'll get it done after. And then it didn't really cost $600 because they did the work themselves, but they made a little extra money. We don't know, but you have to just keep on top of that time frame, right? So I usually contact the buyers and tell them, the inspection report was delivered. Just focus on that summary page. So if you look in that packet I gave you, this one is an example of a Win home inspection. It'll tell you the buyer's name, who was prepared for, the address, and who the inspector is, okay? And then on page 2, it gives you some disclosures, explanation of terms. And then again, it talks about the clients and who ordered it, and a little bit about the house, what the size of the house is, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, 1-story, 2-story, all of that. And then you'll get something that looks like this. It says summary section. And then what they do is they'll put number 1, structure, furniture and storage, and then he goes into a little bit of description. There was no picture on that one. He was just basically saying there's stuff stored everywhere and I couldn't inspect all of the walls. I tell my clients if they're, or when I'm doing a listing, everybody likes to pack stuff in the garage. Great, pack it in the middle of the garage. That way the inspector can walk around the whole wall, the outside. They can see every plug. They can see the water heater. They can get to everything and test it. If it's all pushed there and hiding, I don't know. And now my buyers have to make an uneducated decision.
So I have a question on that. Now, because I know that that's actually a great idea to have everything put in the center. What if there's a crack in the foundation in the garage where all of that stuff is sat?
Yep, we don't know.
So we won't know until everything has been moved out, and that could be
Yep.
another issue that
Yeah,
arises later?
yeah, and then you don't know about it, and it's already changed hands, and now your client's bought a house with a crack in the foundation.
Okay.
And we just don't know.
Okay.
And that's not something we've inspected. I have asked clients to move it here, and then when they come back for reinspection, move it over there.
Okay.
But guess what? If they've got hundreds of boxes, they're not doing it. And you're asking the other side to have them do that. And they're like, I'm not doing that. We moved it so you guys can get around there. They fight you on everything. They're wrong if they put it against the wall. They're wrong if they put it in the center. You just don't know. But some people don't want to get storage units, which would be the best way to do it. Just get a storage unit for a month or 2. Put your stuff in there. That way it's not cluttered in the house. Your house shows well when we go to show it as a listing agent. And the buyers and their inspectors are not fumbling over things, and they can see everything. But
And we could go in prior to the inspection as well, just to kind of peek at the foundation in the garage.
But who's to say before they list the home, they haven't started packing things up and put everything there?
Okay.
You just don't know.
All right.
But that's part of your job when you're bringing your buyers in to view a home. Your job is walking through. They're looking at, where's my furniture going to go? And you're looking at the ceilings and the walls and the baseboards, and that's splitting, and there's a water crack or water stain over there. I'm checking underneath every cabinet to make sure there's no leaks. I'm checking for straps on the water heater. That's your job. They don't know that that's what they should be checking for. So they're checking for the use of the home, and you're checking for those things that you might need to add in your contract, your offer, or what's going to come up on your inspection, right? So look at number 2. It says smoke detectors, and then he explains what his concern is, and then he's got a picture, right? And there's it just shows that the smoke detector was missing. Sometimes they'll do 3, 3A, 3B, 3C, but if the next one, this one just says item number 3 was alarm security system. And I don't know what he said about it. The structure is equipped with a security system. The system is not inspected under the scope of the inspector. So the inspector does not inspect everything. Alarm systems, bubble drippers, sprinklers. He doesn't inspect that. That's like a landscaper's job. But he'll let you know that it was there. He, I think, was noting that there's like a couple of red lights on, and he's like, I don't know anything about this system, but it's there. They're going to look at windows, eaves on the roof. They're looking at everything, right? But so you're going to get this report. And that's what I tell my clients. Just focus on that summary report. Because the reports are like 45, 50 pages long. But it's telling you, I tested the air and it was at 45 degrees here. And this is the temperature outside. They're telling you all that. Because something that you guys might not know. The heater in the house cannot be tested by the home inspector if it's warmer than 70 degrees outside. Because if they turn it on, they risk burning out that motor. So now you're buying a home in Vegas where it's 110 outside. You don't know if the heat works. And 3-4 months later, they're in there and you turn the heat on and it doesn't work. That's why getting a home warranty is super important, because you don't know what you're buying, but that's going to be covered under the home warranty. So I've done that before too, where we've tried to negotiate it in the offer. The seller won't give it to us, so as a closing gift, I'll tack on a home warranty or whatever, because we weren't able to test certain systems, right? And it just, if they're a younger couple and I know they're not going to have the money to fix all this stuff and they're just getting in there, it's super helpful. It's what you do and how you take care of your clients. I am by no means saying buy home warranty for everybody. Saying we're trying to save money for ourselves, but sometimes that you just see the problem coming. And then they're like, I don't want to buy the house. I haven't been able to test that. I don't want to lose a deal over a $600 home warranty. You know what, guys? Just take that out of my commission at the close of escrow. I mean, that could be a $15,000 commission. You're going to lose over $600. And they love the house, but they don't have the money. And that, so you start weighing things, right? But if they're starting to ask you for refrigerators and couches, no. My job is not to furnish your house. My job, you've hired me to find you a home, to negotiate and do all of this stuff that I'm not your interior designer, decorator, whatever. But because they'll start asking you to buy for everything. Can you just cover that? Can you cover? No. Okay. So anyways, back to this. So that was page 1. Page 2. Again, it's not your job to pick out the repairs, and then what's important to them might not be for you. Call to review. Went over all of this. Big ticket items. Once they agree to all items you ask for. Okay, so once you guys have made this list, you talk to your buyers. You've made a list of everything that's important to them. They want to write up a repair request. So go into that packet past this home inspection report, and it's going to look like this. Request for repairs number 1. Okay, but in the meantime, right behind that, I have included 2 estimates. So we don't know how much this stuff is going to cost, so we don't know what to ask for. Do we ask for them to repair it, or do we ask for them just to give you an allotment so you guys can get it done afterwards? And so sometimes you're like, how extensive is that roof damage? I need to get a roofer out there, because they're like, oh, it's just a couple of tiles. And then the roofer comes out and is like, no, the whole underlayment needs to be removed, and that's $20,000. They're like, what? Big difference than fixing a $60 tile. So we want to get a roofer out there. So what you do is you schedule the roofer to come out, and then they'll give you, this one was Construction LLC, stucco. This one does kitchen faucets. They did a little bit of everything. And they give, so then they'll tell you what it's valued at and what it would cost. And this total was $1,055. And so you can ask for an allotment. And if your clients are going to be renovating the house, ripping out flooring and repainting everything and changing bathroom fixtures, maybe don't ask the seller to put a new kitchen faucet in there, because you're going to rip it out anyways. You're redoing everything. If you're going to get a new sink, that faucet might not fit. So we just need an estimate of what that faucet might cost and what the repair would cost, to have somebody come and change that out. So that's why sometimes you ask for money and other times you ask for the repair. Sometimes you're like, okay, I can't move into this house until this is fixed. That's something that has to be done prior to close of escrow. Any repairs need to be done prior to close of escrow. And they need to be done by licensed contractors, not handyman, not next door neighbors, not cousins, brothers, unless it's agreed upon and the buyer and the seller are like, yeah, I'm okay. They might have just said, hey, my dad's a contractor for such and such a company. Are you okay with him doing the work? Yeah, if he's a contractor and it's a well-known company and I know them, sure. But if it's just like, well, yeah, my next door neighbor can change all the plumbing out or electrical, absolutely not. He does all my stuff. Well, that's why we have a lot of problems. So you want to, again, you're trying to protect your client. So the seller's going to try to push you to do it the cheapest way possible. You want to do it the right way and make sure that it's not going to come back to haunt them later on. So if you've got this and you're like, okay, I've got my inspection report, I've got my estimates, now I'm going to write a repair request. So writing the repair request, you're going to put request for repairs number 1 and reference to the residential purchase agreement dated, and this might be the wrong, no, I think this is the right form, dated, and you're going to put the date that's on the top right of the offer that you wrote. Okay, that when you wrote that offer, not the day that they accepted it, you're always going to write that date that's on the top right that they wrote the offer, right, of the purchase agreement. And then you put the address, you can put the buyer's names and the seller's names. And then number 1 is either buyer accepts it and approves and moves on, is not asking for anything. But usually you're writing a repair request. Almost every house has a repair request, guys. I mean, think about it. No house is perfect, but sometimes they've agreed it as is. So you would mark number 2, and it says in there, page 5 of your home inspection. So you've got to, when you're sending over your repair request, you're sending over your home inspection report as well. So it says on page 5, item number 2, smoke detectors are missing. I always put if it's a safety concern. For safety reasons, please replace 5 smoke detectors in the home. When you say it's safety, I find that it's more apt that the seller, and it's easier for the listing agent to say, hey, this is a safety concern. We don't want any problems down the line. Can you just fix the safety concerns? Anything electrical, I put as a safety concern because electrical's no joke. We can have a short and the whole house can burn down. So then it says page 5, number 4, windows and latches. Page 8, number 9, exterior structure. The siding condition is damaged in the stucco on various. So this one has got, I don't know how many things on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 repairs that they're asking for. This is a lot. So it's not even the best one. So when you guys go to write a repair request, come to us, because like if you look down there, it says page 19, number 31, under sink, leak. Okay, what do you want me to do with that? You want to be very detailed. Leak under the kitchen sink must be repaired by a licensed plumber. And then I'll lump things together. Licensed plumber to repair page 5, line item number 2, page 6, item number 1, page 6, and I put all the plumbing stuff here. And then electrician, all the following items be repaired by a licensed electrician. And then I'll list that. That way they know I have to hire a plumber, I have to hire an electrician, I have to, that's what they're doing. They just kind of went down page by page and then it's random things. So this one is like pigeons nesting under the solar panels on the roof. That's kind of important. Debris is accumulating on the roof. So they put those solar panels in there and then the pigeons come up there for shade, and next thing you know, you've got pigeon stuff everywhere and nests, and then they're walking all over the solar panels and breaking them, and it's a problem. It really is. And then when they screw those solar panels into the tiles, and then you're possibly water filtration, and then now you got pigeons up there. It's there's just a lot of stuff in there. So again, what's important to them might not be important to you, but it's, but you've got to be really detailed in there. Then you're going to have your buyers sign it, and then you leave this bottom half alone. Okay? Then responding, you give them your inspection report, your invoices if you have any, and your repair requests, and you bundle it all together and you send it over, right? Then they have to respond to you. They should respond to you, but they don't always. But and then they can accept, counter, or reject. And then if they are countering, it's going to mark the box that says counter, and then you're going to mark the box seller or buyer presents as a counter offer to the terms in this repair request, and it says and is attached repair request number 2. So it should be 1, 2, and then you provide 2, and if they want to counter 2, it would be 2 and 3, and they have to stay in consecutive order. And the only person, once you all agree to this, the only person that gets this is me, Tim, and Maria. Do not send this to your lender. Never, ever, ever send a repair request to your lender. If you are, hey, I don't need you to fix anything, I just want $5,000 in lieu of repairs, you can say that on your repair request, but you have to write up a separate addendum. The addendum will say, seller to contribute $5,000 to buyer's closing costs. Do not put in lieu of repairs. You do not ever, ever, ever want to alert the lender that there are repairs needed on the home, because they do not have to lend money on a home that needs repairs, right? So you just, on the repair request, it's in lieu of repairs, and on the addendum, it's just towards closing costs. That is it, right? So they can ask for these items to be fixed, or they can just put in there, I list everything out and then say, in lieu of repairs, seller to give buyer $5,000 towards closing costs. So you're not asking them to fix them, you're just asking for money credit, right? So that's that. Oh, and then I did put a repair request number 2. And then I said if they're going to counter 3. So you guys can kind of see how they go in order. They have to be in order, because if they're missing, then somebody's going to, me, Maria, Tim, we're going to call you and say, hey, where's the other one of this? We want to follow the chain, right? And then here I did put a 3, and then they accepted. So that was good. Went back and forth. And then I did add the addendum. Seller to give buyer $5,000 credit towards buyer's closing costs or discount points. Whatever it is. It does not say in lieu of repairs, okay? So keep that. Remember that. That's super important, because once that lender sees that, that could kill your deal, guys. Right there. All right, so I don't know why I have... Oh, we're talking about appraisal now. Okay, so that was that on the inspection and repair requests. Anybody have any questions on that portion of it? Nope, nope, nope. Okay, so that one's out of the way. Now, appraisal. Generally, I work with a lender to get all of this information so it's correct. So once escrow is opened, you as the buyer's agent will make sure the lender has all executed documents within 24 hours of acceptance, right? So that on that opening email that goes to me and Tim and Maria and the title company and all that, it's going to the lender as well. Congratulations, please, we've got an accepted offer, please open escrow. So you've alerted the lender with your RPA, counter offers, everything's going, right? The lender will start working on the loan. The buyers will get the initial disclosures from the lender to sign within 24 to 48 hours. That's when the lender is like, great, we've got a loan, or we've got a purchase contract. Now we're going to do the paperwork, and within 48 hours, the lender's going to send a paperwork to the buyers. The buyers have to sign it. Some buyers drag their feet. When they drag their feet, it slows the whole process down. The lender cannot move forward until those initial disclosures. So you have to follow up with that buyer and say, did you sign the initial disclosures to get that loan going? Did the lender contact you? You guys, they're going to get bombarded in the first 48 hours with title and lender and you, and they don't know what's what. So I'm like, you're going to open everything that's got that property address on there, because they're not going to know who the title company is or who the escrow officer is right off the get-go. They're just like, what am I supposed to do? So that's why a lot of times the lender and the title company will CC you on things. So at least you can get it and say, hey, did you guys get this? Because they don't know what they're looking at, right? So please make sure your buyers sign them, because the lender can't move forward. Lender will ask the buyer for updated documents like pay stubs, bank statements. They'll go over payments and interest rates, because things can change. They might have pre-approved that buyer 3 months ago, and the interest rate was down here. Now you write an offer that it's still good, but now the interest rate is up here, so that just changed their payment. Again, there's nothing we can do, but they might not qualify. They might not have that money. They might, So that's why you want to stay in contact with your lender. That's why pre-approval letters are really only good for 3 months, because they want to keep revisiting that, right? Because it can change at any time. So now you've opened escrow and you're like, now I can't afford the house. Now's the best time to get out while you're still in your due diligence period, and you can get your earnest money back, right? So then at that point, once everything's signed, the lender's going to order that appraisal. When they order that appraisal, they send a link to the buyer, and that buyer has to pay for that $500-600. That's where it's coming out right away. They don't even send the appraiser out until that is paid for. So it needs to be paid for. So in the first 3 days, they're already ordering that appraisal. It could take up to 14 days for the appraiser to get out there. That's why on that purchase agreement, we tell you to put 18 or 21 days or something. But you will have already talked, before you write your purchase agreement, you're going to talk to the lender. Hey, when we're ready to write an offer, how many days for close of escrow? How many days for appraisal and how many days for loan? Because if they're like, hey, it's a VA loan and they're taking like 2 weeks to just get out there, I know I want 18 days might not be enough, because if they come at day 14, then they do the appraisal, and it could take another 5 to 10 days for them to do the report and get that back to me. We might hit tidewater and they can't find the value, and anything can happen. So that's why you want to talk to the lender. How many days do you need for appraisal and loan? Okay. Whenever a buyer comes to me, they're like, I'm pre-approved. Great. Let me see that. And my first phone call is to that lender. Before we get started, I'm going to start showing them homes this weekend. What are your time frames on close of escrow and appraisal and loan contingency? So I know. Now, it might get slowed down because it might not make an offer for 3 months, but right off the get-go, he already told me a general idea of what he wants. So with that, we're under escrow, and they've already ordered the appraisal. Once the appraisal comes in, the lender reviews for the purchase price and subject to conditions or as is. So I've included an appraisal in here, guys. These appraisals are 40 pages as well. I've only included the first 2 out of the first 6. Okay, so this is what an appraisal looks like. There's a lot of information on these forms, okay? Ask me to read it. I don't know how to really read it. But if you look on page 2, I highlighted the most important part that we need. It says the appraisal is made as is or subject to. Do you have those are circled, and it's going to tell you as is means, hey, I determine the value is the way that it stands right now. But subject to is, hey, I'll give you this value as long as they add a staircase going up in the garage because it's not like it's not done up to code now, or if they cap those wires on the patio cover in the back. If they fix this glass window that's broken, those are appraisal conditions. So that's why you want to look right there. Is it as is or subject to? And then at the bottom, it's circled what the purchase price is. Okay? That's the price they gave you. So, if the purchase comes in at value, I immediately send an email. I tell my clients, the appraisal came in at value, we're good to go, move forward. Then I send an email or I call the other agent and I just say, just want to let you know, appraisal came in at value, we're good to go, we're moving forward. They sometimes might say, well, what did it come in at? It came in at value, we're moving forward. I never, ever, ever tell the seller or the listing agent what the value came in at. Because back in the day when we did that, they say, great, it came in $30,000 above, we're canceling and we're going to relist for $30,000 above. And now I just lost a house for my client. It's always at value. And I say, you know what? Once it records, I'll call you and let you know what the value is. I am not letting them know the value. Now, if it comes in under, that's the hard phone call you have to call the agent and say, okay, we just got our appraisal back and it came in $10,000 below. Are your sellers willing to reduce the price to that price? So, seller can drop the price to that. The buyer can pay the difference in cash. They can split it. The seller comes, drops at $5,000. The buyer pays $5,000 out of pocket. There's so many different ways it can do that. Me as a listing agent, when somebody comes back to me, I said, well, we gave you $10,000 in closing costs. We'll drop the price $10,000, but I'm no longer giving you closing costs. My seller's not going to lose $20,000. You know, like what's important. But here's the thing: is as a listing agent, when somebody gives me an offer and they ask, what just happened the other day. They said, okay, we want $20,000 in closing costs. I'll call up the lender and I'll say, great, just got an offer for 123 Main Street. Your buyers are such and such, and apparently you're the lender for that. Yep, I just want to go over a few things on my pre-approval letter. It's they offered full price. That's great. They offered close of escrow on this date. Yep. They offered appraisal time frame and contingency time frame 26 days. They match. I'm not cool with that, and it's too long. I'm reducing that to 18 and 21. Are you okay with that? And the lender's like, yep, I could do that. I don't know why the buyer's agent did it. But I say to him, also, they asked for $20,000 in closing costs. Is that a need or a want? And I stop. And they always start, they fumble around. I said, okay, let me stop you there, because they'll never answer you, because it's their client they're trying to protect. I said, we are not opposed to giving them closing costs, but I need to know if that appraisal doesn't come in, will they have another way to find that money? Because we're not giving them both. Oh yeah, we can pull it from somewhere else. Guess what? They don't need those closing costs. So I say, instead of $20,000, I'll counter you at $5,000. But I still know now that you have wiggle room. But if they say no, they have no closing costs. That's a conversation you have to have with your seller, because you're like, if the house doesn't appraise, we have to drop the price to move forward with these people. So I'm just letting you know, that's why pricing your properties as a listing agent is really important. Pricing them right, because if you're overpriced and you get somebody who makes an offer, the seller's going to be upset because they think they're losing money, and the buyers are like, hey, I'll give you this price, but I need closing costs and they don't have enough. And then you just 2 weeks and you're falling apart. Well, so with that, I, as a buyer's agent, as a listing agent, I always call and ask them if that's a need or a want, because sometimes if that appraisal doesn't come in, it just kills the whole deal, So I want to know where that money's coming from. So those are your options. If it's as is and it came in at value, perfect, you're good to go. If it comes in below, the seller can drop the price, the buyer can pay the difference in cash, or they can split it or whatever. You try to renegotiate at that point. Those are your only options. And then, and if they can't agree, it's a cancellation. And then the seller should give the buyer the earnest money back as long as you are in your time frames. Let me touch upon earnest money real quick. We have to stay out of it. So when you tell your buyers, yep, we're going to stay in this time frame because if we have to cancel, you'll get your money back. I always say you should get your money back, because there are some sellers, they don't care and they don't want to give the money back because they think it's theirs. Now it's neutral, it's held at title, so the buyer doesn't have it, the seller doesn't have it. But the title cannot release that money unless both sides agree in writing. So if the seller wants to be a stickler and they say, no, I don't want to give them that money, the buyer has to sue the seller for it. We are not involved in that fight, guys. It stinks, and I know, and your clients are upset, but that's why you have to do your job and stay in your time frame, because you could lose it for them, and then you could also have those sticklers. But if you're a listing agent, you need to educate your clients. I will not allow my clients, if I'm a listing agent, I will not allow you to hold somebody's earnest money unless if they are in their time frame. That is a cost. But I took my house on the market. Yes. And they were going to work, and they had to back out because you're refusing to do the repairs that they ask. They have every right to do that. You either lose it now or you lose it on the repairs. I don't know what to tell you, but I am very right there. You're going to do what's right, or I'm not going to take this listing. And I tell this before I even list the home. I give them the whole process of what's going on. Now, earnest money, everyone thinks, well, I could take it from them. You can, as long as they do not comply with what they're doing. But if they are in their time frames, you have to release it. You're not keeping that money. That's not for you. You don't even touch it. It's that title. So I educate them ahead of time so that when we come down to that, I just say, remember how I told you, they're still in their 10-day due diligence, or their appraisal contingency is 21 days or 18 days. We're still in it. We can't agree. We can back out. We can back out, but you have to give them the earnest money back. And sometimes that's enough to go, okay, you know what, just drop the price. I don't want to go back on the market. Okay, bless you. So you're having that conversation with them to make sure they all completely understand about that appraisal. But other than that, let's see, did I go over? This just talks about repair requests, which is kind of out of order, but I think I hit all of that. Yep. So I hit through all of that. Do you guys have any questions about the appraisal? Nope. Okay. Any questions about anything that we discussed today? No, there's a lot of information. I am going to be doing a class on counteroffers. I had 2 agents over the weekend get really confused on how to properly write a counteroffer. And I don't blame them. It's confusing because you're writing counteroffer 1, and then, like, say you're the buyer's agent or the seller. You write a counteroffer 1, and then you have to respond. The buyer's agent has to respond, but all of those numbers, just like the repair requests, 1 up here, 2 down here. Same with the counteroffer, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, the more counteroffers you get, they get confusing. So we're going to have a class on that as well. Are there any additional classes that you guys think you might want information on that I don't have in this series or the Rev Up? If you think of any, just email them to me, because you're not the only ones with questions. I've been doing this 20 years, so I forget what is confusing to you guys sometimes. I just make classes on whatever people start asking me questions. I'm like, I got 2 or 3 of these questions. I'm going to make a class on that. So there's no stupid questions. There's no, I don't understand this. Of course you don't understand it because it's brand new to you. So just let me know what you guys need to learn about, and I will get a class for you. All right. Otherwise, this is the only Back to Basics this month because we have Veterans Day the next one, Monday. Then we have a big managers meeting, and then the last week, I do nothing in the last week before Thanksgiving because everybody's either on vacation or kids are home and they don't attend. So we're gonna take that last week off. But we do have a Agent Mastermind next Tuesday, and that's how to input your clients into the CRM and put them into groups. We have a Wednesday workshop this week from John Morgan. It's writing your business plan for 2025. And then Rock Title has 2 other classes on those next 2 Wednesday workshops. So we still have classes going on. A Rock Title's calendar is going to be out today. I just got it, so I just need to verify our calendar is going to get a little adjusted because Tim Sams put his classes on 3 of the days that we already have classes, so I have to adjust ours. So because Tim is only available certain days, so he'll do his classes and then we'll adjust that. So topics are going to move around a little bit. But other than that, have a great week, guys. I'm here if you need anything.